Welcome back. So a lot of times it's very cool to have one-liners in your code. Sometimes it's just too messy and you can't read the code. I just want to make that point. And right now, since this is a course where I try to teach C# basics, I'm going to split my read line into 2 lines instead of 1. And this is not a big thing, I know that, but I just want to kind of recap of some of the things we already learned, like var, for instance, right? So I'll make a var here and I'll make it into an input, and there I'll read my console line into this one like this. And then instead of returning the console line, I'm actually going to return the new variable I just defined right here called input. I want to do this because now I can add a breakpoint and you guys can see that this is actually a few steps in this to actually get this done. And I want to try and show you when readLine is actually returned into a new variable inside another place in the code. So what we're going to do is we're going to run the console app again here. I'm going to launch it and I hit the readline right away. And let's start out by figuring out where I actually hit the read line. So if I go to the top, you'll see an area that's grayed out. And this guy is actually where I'm at right now and where I'm hitting this read line right now inside the program. So what I want to show you first of all is that right now this variable called name is actually null right now. So there's nothing in here. It's an empty variable that's ready to be populated. Another thing I want to show you is if you press the read line or any method, you can press you can press F12. On the Mac it's Fn Control F12 if you're using the system I am, but F12 and you will actually go to the actual function that we're executing or that we're looking at. Let's just try and do the print line as well. I mark the print line just by pressing it, and I press F12 and bam, I'm at the print line in the code. This is very powerful when you start having methods in different classes. You can actually pretty much just navigate between the classes, and you can always go back to where you were just at by just pressing the back key right here. Okay, so I think that's 2 pretty cool points to have. So let's go back to the read line down here, and let's actually see what happens next. So now notice the name up there was still null. There was nothing in there. We right here the input is also null because there's nothing in there yet. We're going to add something there in a second, but right now it's actually null. So let's try and step over this first one right here. Step over, we get into the console, it asks us to type in the name. Let's write John, we'll press enter, it pops back, and now the input is something. Input is now John. Awesome. But name is still not anything. So this guy is still null. Nothing has been put in here because this guy is not done executing yet. So let's step over this guy right now. Step over, step over. This is the end of the function or the method. I'll step over, boop, and now I get up here. Notice the name is still null because the method has not passed this line yet. So it knows that it's going to return actually John to this guy, but until I'm past this line, it's not done yet. So let me just step over once more, and now you see the name of John in here. So again, the debugger is really a great tool when you need to learn about how code is actually working and talking together, and when you're returning code and when things are actually happening. I just want to point that out, and then now you also know the F12 function to actually jump through the code if you want to go to specific lines. I can even go into the console read line. There you go. This is actually the .NET code, and they're not all available, so you might not be able to read the read line, what that is all about, but that's actually Microsoft's console. We're in that class right now. Let me jump back here. So that's all for this lesson. Now you guys know a bit more about jumping through the code, and I feel that's very important before we start messing around with more tricky stuff. See you in the next lesson.